GOP lawmakers accusing the Obama administration of deliberately misleading the American public by giving Iran, or attempting to give Iran, access to the U.S. financial system in its desperation to get the Iran nuclear deal done.
GOP Congressman Barry Loudermilk sits on the Homeland Security Committee and served as an intel specialist in the Air Force. He joins us now to react. Thank you for joining us. Now, look, on one hand, you have Jarrett Blank, the former State Department coordinator for the Iran deal implementation, saying that this is just widely overblown. On the other hand, you heard the same thing we heard just a minute ago in that interview. What's your take of this?
Well, it's ironic that you had the previous administration, Barack Obama in 2007, criticize the federal government by saying too many deals were done behind closed door and just done by the stroke of the president's pen without engaging the American people or going behind the halls of Congress. That's exactly what was done here. Repeatedly, the administration reported to Congress that they would have no access to American financial system, but behind closed doors and with the stroke of the pen, they're giving a license away. It's unbelievable the level of non-transparency that we're seeing now that's been happening in the previous administration.
Sir, what's so funny about it is that this actually didn't get done, that the administration told a couple of banks, hey, do this for us. You've got the president and the White House saying, please do this for us. And these companies, these banks were smart enough to know that this is not something that should be done, even with the White House giving them the approval.
Well, and you're right. And, there's enough patriotism still in this country, especially with our banks, our financial system, that they know the difference between right and wrong. They understand that President Rouhani had repeatedly said that the chance of death to America is what unites their country. And you've got Khomeini, who denies the Holocaust. They hate Israel. They hate the United States, refer to us as the great Satan. I served on a special task force tracking terrorist travel on Homeland Security Committee. And we uncovered so much of what Iran is doing, supporting Hamas and Hezbollah and helping actually bring terrorists into the Middle East and to the United States. And yet this money that we were supposedly sanctioned, the previous president was actually helping get into the hands of the Iranians, which ultimately ends in the hands of terrorists.
On one hand, you want to ask, why is this still so controversial, years later? But on the other hand, when you get more information and when you learn more, you kind of get your answer to that. How would you have liked to see this handled all along?
Well, first of all, this entire deal should have gone through Congress. And the reason the president didn't do that is because he knows that Congress would not approve a deal like this, a deal that basically empowers one of our greatest enemies, enemy that has threatened to destroy the United States and our closest ally in the Middle East, Israel. When you look at the deal was so lopsided, one-sided in their favor, all the money, he even went as far as secretly providing them $1.7 billion in American cash. This money went straight into increasing their military and supporting terrorists. And so this should have gone through Congress. It should have been a treaty, which would have never happened. And that's exactly why the president went the route that he did.
It is interesting that whenever you hear Obama supporters, and typically Democrats will say, this was their way of preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. They don't understand what conservatives didn't like about this deal. But as you just said, all of that money that was dumped into that country was used to try and spread that ideology that runs that country to build up more Irans in the world. Talk about a bad decision for the future. Maybe in the short term, it potentially could have worked in some kind of way, but in the future, you're creating a mess.
You absolutely are, and you just look at it from the aspect of they've continued to violate the sanctions we agreed to in the bill, but the money that they received, they immediately started purchasing anti-aircraft missiles. They're strengthening their military. Look, this is a rogue regime that hates the United States. They hate freedom. They hate everything that we stand for. And we know that they're going to violate the sanctions. We know that they have continued to try to develop weapons. Look, as part of the agreement, they banned us access to their military installations, which is, if anybody in the right mind would understand, if you're going to develop a nuclear weapon, you just move it to your military installations and deny access to the inspectors. This is how asinine this entire deal was. It was, again, it was in the the philosophy of leading from behind of the previous administration, which basically we understand now was behind the backs of the American people and behind the backs of Congress.
All right. Sir, thank you so much, Congressman, for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.